M3GAN 2.0 is here, and the big question is it better than the original, or does this one just completely glitch out? Now, these two films could not be more different, tonally, visually, or even what they're trying to be. So today I'm breaking down M3GAN versus M3GAN 2.0. Did the upgrade actually work? And if you've seen M3GAN 2.0, make sure you drop your thoughts on it down in the comments. So the first M3GAN had this really tense, eerie tone to it. It was branded as a horror movie, but it wasn't really that scary, but there was always that sense of M3GAN is watching these characters at all times. You kind of felt a little uncomfortable watching it. Nothing too scary, but it was delving right into that horror genre. But M3GAN 2.0, complete 180. It was bright, it's chaotic, it's colorful, and it leans heavily into just having fun. It goes completely in the opposite direction of the first one, which is what you would expect after watching the trailer. And I remember watching that first trailer for the sequel, and I thought, what the hell is even that? So yeah, the tonal shift between the first one and the second one is very jarring at first. Once you start watching 2.0 and you kind of settle in and you kind of understand what the vibe is with this one, and you realize 2.0 really leans hard into the chaos, and that's part of its charm. Now the OG M3GAN, her design, it was really, like I said, leaning into horror. It was very drab and dark and not really full of color at all. It's uncanny. It's kind of hard to tell if she was CGI or was she a person in a suit or was it practical effects like animatronics. You never really knew what you were looking at actually was, because it was a blend of all of those things, and it worked so well that you can't really look away. You're just so intrigued with this character's design. It worked so well in the first one. Now in the second one, she's way more expressive, right? The technology has grown in the last few years, so they still use that same combination of CGI, practical effects, and an actual person, but the way that they portray M3GAN and how she moves and mostly how she talks, she has so much more personality in this one. It's a few years after the first one, so she's kind of grown into a teenager phase. So if you have ever met a moody teenager, that's kind of what you expect here with the sass, with the remarks, and it's so funny. This movie leans into the comedy very well. It doesn't always hit. There are those instances where it just does not work for the most part, but the movie's funny, and a lot of it has to do with M3GAN and her reactions and the way that she's sarcastic with all the characters. M3GAN is so much more likable in this movie than in the first. Now, like I said, M3GAN 2.0 is full of those moments that are funny. Their humor really does work, but then there's a lot of corny moments with the one-liners and really all of those things that you would expect from an action comedy, because at the end of the day, M3GAN 2.0 is an action comedy. We went from horror to this, and it shouldn't work, but it does. But keep in mind, when you have an action comedy that doesn't really push the boundaries or do anything different, there are those check marks that those type of movies have. Now, for example, there's a dance scene in this movie, and keep in mind, she dances in the first M3GAN, but that one's more of like a scary, kind of creepy, taunting way. In this one, complete fun. She's gathering all of these people in the crowd, like watching her, and she's doing all these crazy robotic moves because people don't know that she's a robot yet. So it's a lot of fun to watch. There's a montage of her being rebuilt, so you get to see different versions of M3GAN and how she kind of becomes to be in this one. And then lastly, there is a part in the movie that fits perfectly, and it comes out of nowhere, where I'll just leave it at this, there's a singing part, and it is hilarious. And it works because the movie knows it's ridiculous and leans fully into it. The humor mostly lands, like we talked about before. It is genuinely funny in some of the scenes, and the few action movie one-liners, they don't really quite hit. But overall, the comedy definitely elevates this movie for me. It's a lot of fun. Now, like I said before, M3GAN 2.0 is an action comedy, where the first M3GAN is just straight up horror, maybe like a little bit of a thriller, but it doesn't really move into any other genre. It just stays right there. This movie leans into both comedy, action, maybe a little bit of horror, but the action in this movie, you get robot fighting robot, and it comes with a lot of really creative camera work, a lot of creative moves, and there's a lot of fast cuts. So it's kind of giving you this realism of these two people fighting, but then how fast it moves and what they can do with the acrobatics reminds you during the fight that these aren't supposed to be humans. These are robots going at it with these crazy algorithms going in their head where they can see each other's moves, and it's a lot of fun to watch, and surprisingly, very well done. This isn't, John Wick type of fighting, but for what it is, for what I thought we were gonna get with this, it does a really good job. Now, as far as these two different stories go, the first M3GAN, the story was very simple. It was focused on Katie and Gemma and how M3GAN affects them and their relationship, because their relationship is starting from scratch. And that was actually, I think, probably one of the better parts of the first M3GAN, is just seeing their relationship, how Gemma isn't supposed to be this parent, but now she's forced into this role. Katie is missing her parents from the terrible accident that happened, and she finds solace in M3GAN, but then M3GAN turns into this whole nightmare scenario. But that's kind of what the first M3GAN was about. Very simple, very straightforward, and it worked for what it was. So kind of in the first M3GAN, M3GAN was kind of the catalyst that built up Gemma and Katie's relationship, whereas in 2.0, Gemma and Katie are the thing that really elevates M3GAN and makes us learn more about her and how she's not just an algorithm or a computer or a toy. There is now a little bit higher level of thinking, and there's some emotion to her, and it's just really cool to see how they all kind of complement each other across the two movies. And focusing in on M3GAN and how she's a little bit more humanized this time, that reversal of going that route is kind of risky, but it does give M3GAN a lot more depth. And like I said earlier in this video, you tend to like M3GAN a lot more in this one than you did in the first. M3GAN 2.0 is now an action comedy with a little sprinkle of horror, and that blend isn't gonna work for everybody, especially if you were someone that really dug what the first M3GAN was kind of building to, what it was, the creepiness, the atmosphere that brought. None of that's here in M3GAN 2.0. And even though this movie does borrow from a lot of different genres, it doesn't really elevate any single one of them, but it just plugs it in, it plays with it, and it has a lot of fun doing it. It doesn't do anything exceptionally great, but it doesn't do anything bad either. It just is kind of right there in the middle. Like I said, it has boxes to check as far as action comedies go. It's predictable, it has a big final battle, has a very cheesy climax, but it is all well executed. Now, I will say it's less fresh than the first movie, but it has more ideas of what they can do with M3GAN, with Gemma and Katie, and just kind of that world in general. It has more style, and at the end of the day, it's just a lot more fun than the first movie. So overall, is M3GAN 2.0 better than M3GAN? It's kind of hard to say, because both of these movies are gonna fit different moods, where someone may really like the horror aspect of the first one and really want that in the sequel, whereas if that horror aspect didn't work and they wanted a little bit more lighthearted stuff and a little bit more action, 2.0 is the way to go. Now personally, I think I liked M3GAN 2.0 just a little bit more than the first one. Now you all know on this channel, I'm a horror guy through and through, but there was just something that was very charming about M3GAN 2.0. It's not scarier than the first one at all, but it's weirder, it's louder, and it just blends all those things together in a way that really, really worked for me. Now, if you're still on the fence of seeing M3GAN 2.0 and you need a refresher on the first M3GAN, check out this video right here. I did a full recap for you. Thank you for watching, and I will catch you in the next one.